the team and I were talking about the session last time and the meanings of it and how we felt about it and I wonder if other people have focused on it or thought about it or watched the video or anything like that. BJ, I know you weren't here last time and maybe you watched the video of last time.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
I watched it, the audio, and also had time to watch the clips. So thank you very much.
Great.
Oh, yeah. So the clips were from the meeting before that one, right? From December 20th.
Oh, were
The
they?
clips that you just received like an hour before the start of this meeting.
Okay.
That was yeah, that was from the meeting of December 20th.
Thank you. Well, I did both. Wow.
You did both. Okay.
So maybe we should take a minute to take a couple of breaths and see where we are. Second meeting of the new year. Yes. Anybody? We're welcoming anybody to say whatever is there for you.
So I want to go and say something because I've been sitting with that since the last meeting. And I want to acknowledge that I didn't acknowledge that I missed BJ and that BJ was not there. And since the last meeting, I've been wanting to reach out to you, BJ, find out how you were and how come you didn't come. And then I wasn't feeling well, and then it just, but I want to say I miss you on that day. And I don't think I said that in that meeting. And the other thing that I want to say is that I really, really enjoy the sort of like interconnectedness and the check-in that we did and the reflecting. But also I feel like it was very rich and it took a lot of time. And I don't know that we can do that, but I also would like to do something like that. To your point, Marvin, of sort of like connecting and getting to know each other more. And so I've been thinking about this the entire time as to how to find a balance between those two places. So that's what I've been sitting with. I don't have an answer, but I definitely for sure would love for us to find some kind of way to bring more of ourselves in the way in which we did last week. Because I think it gave me, and I know Roberto is not here, but like even what he shared felt so meaningful and so important. And you know what you share, Nancy, about your daughter, and I think that what happened for me that day was kind of like the realization that we are really integrating a lot of what we're doing here. But I think somebody said today, you don't know if you receive an email. If you don't receive it, you don't know you didn't receive it. And this is the same way I'm feeling about this. Like we have been picking up some skills and some tools, but because they haven't been flagged when they show up, then I don't know that I'm aware that I have those tools, although I may be using them. So I would like to see a little bit more of that when those tools come in and we put them to use, that we also flag that. So we all sort of like in sync that we're using those tools. So that's what I'm sitting with.
To your point, Isabel, the format we used last time is one that I use in my support groups every week. I do 2 support groups a week, an hour and a half. And uh, we come at that format after trying many different varieties of formats. I used to ask people to score themselves from 1 to 10, how they were feeling, and then we started with the person who seemed to be having the worst day.
Mm.
But and then we went on from there. But the groups, both groups seem to like this format of 3 minutes of saying what's on their mind and 3 minutes of interaction, and we time it. So a bing goes off after 3 minutes to say, it's now time to allow some reflections and comments, and it seems to work.
The 3 minutes here, there's 13 people. That would be 39
But
minutes.
I have
No,
typically
I'm just
15
saying, I'm doing
people.
the math. I'm doing
Yeah,
the
me
math.
too.
I
And,
have
and it's
typically,
like, so that would be like the first whole hour just checking in. And
Right.
and what we were doing last week was also sort of like reflecting. And
Mhm.
so I am saying that was such a beautiful piece. And that's all we did. I know we bookmarked, we didn't get to it, but we bookmarked the revolutionary listening for today. I'm assuming.
Right.
Yeah.
I just
I
wanted-
wanted, oh,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
sorry.
Go.
Oh, okay.
You have to
what-
say.
What I wanted to say was, and some of you know this work if you were there, I presented the empathies at the Help for Helpers, the idea of empathy circles. And when I was watching last week, and I watched it in double time because I do that all the time when I watch the video recordings, because it's easier. So I was like, oh, when you guys said it was like time was up, and you had gone by, I was like, oh yeah, well, because for me it was like an hour. Anywho, the idea that came at that point was like, it would be really lovely to have, I mean, there's less than 20 of us and we're 10 months, right? Like, so every week one person could do a deeper check-in, and then you could do an empathic reflection. How does it touch you? And not everybody needs to share, or you can do it much quicker. The reflection can be more empathic. Sorry, you can pause. Sorry, I'm talking too fast. Can pause and see what comes and share it, and you're already into a conversation. So not everybody has to share from whatever they want to share. We could let one person start us off with their spark and follow their flame, if you will. Yeah, so that's my idea. And actually, in connected to that, I wanted to say, and this was from a few meetings ago, Marvin, you had said something because I had shared more personal stories and you liked that. And there was something yucky in me in that reflection, because what I want to be sharing is what's most alive in me, what's most at the edge. And very often what's at the edge is the ideas, is the crossing of, well, what can we do with that? And not necessarily processing something from way back when or whatever. Yeah, so I say that too.
I think Lynn was
Um,
talking about the need for specificity and the safety of talking about specifics as a vehicle to getting to be able to talk about the bigger ideas. That's
Yeah.
I'd like to reflect what you said. And then I'll reflect what you said, Marvin. That for you, sharing what's most alive is feels most genuine. And not necessarily sharing what's most personal. And that often the crossings and the place where the personal and the larger meet is the most alive place for you. And then Marvin, you were saying that sometimes the specificity makes a ground of safety. But then I was thinking that that's different for each person. Each person, what is most alive, may be most alive. And we're trying to learn to include all the differences, right? And all the ways. I am so passionate about conversation that having turn taking for too long a time doesn't feel, I would prefer if last week's session could be integrated in such a way that we would be sharing more specificity for you, Marvin, about what's alive for us in the moment, and bringing more of the personal in an organic way, and feeling freer to ask each other about it. Ask Nancy about her daughter. Have that integration where it doesn't have to be structured each week, but although I liked Annette's idea of somebody starting out with what's most alive for them and having a reflection each week. I like that idea a lot. But I just want to say that my feeling about last week was like we had been climbing a mountain and struggling, and some of us falling off the cliff, and getting them roped back in, and finally we got to this plateau, and we were sitting there having a picnic and saying, well, how are you, and what's going on in your life? And that it felt so good not only to hear about the personal, but to have that feeling of, oh, we've done something together, and now we're resting together or relaxing together or something. And I was noticing how much each person has grown since the beginning, and I would love us to also mark that, Masumi coming through that place of saying she didn't have a right to say what she wanted to say, and then doing the attunement the next time and saying, I have courage. And Roberto, so many, Nancy, I mean, all of us have grown and changed. And I think that is important to mark. But I think that all the work that we did about the interpersonal conflict, and then broadening that to this international conflict and how we feel about the social political, then brought us into this place of having a picnic, as I would put it. I wondered if you see it that way. Do other people have that same perception, or does it feel different to you?
It's, it's not a picnic for me. I mean, I see why you would say a picnic. It was so enjoyable. And it was also so free. And it seemed without tension, without the fear oh boy, I have, but I don't like separating that. I mean, it sounds too easy to, call it a picnic. I don't think it's easy. I was feeling a whole bunch of things that I couldn't quite say. So it's not easy always to say what we did. I think it was that we were all doing it. And there was permission for all.
Mhm. Yes, right. Point taken, Susan.
Well, many people have said about that format that nobody gets left out because everybody knows that there's going to be time for them and they don't have to speak up. They don't have to exercise leadership in the sense that Lynn has encouraged us over the past year to do so. Some people can do it better than others. And this is a vehicle that allows people to feel that they are going to have a space for sure.
Hmm.
They're always going to be included. They're always going to belong.
Mhm.
They
Yes,
belong just because they showed up.
Yeah.
yes.
And yet, Marvin, I think that there was leadership that was taken last week. It may not have been, like for me, I felt that the leadership in my space felt like people took leadership in showing up and in sharing and in coming forward in such a genuine and authentic way.
Mhm.
Absolutely, I agree with you completely.
Mhm. Me
I
too.
was confused by, and I'd like to ask Annette, because I was confused by what you shared, and I didn't jump immediately to reflect on it. You said you like sharing what's most alive in you, but it's not always the most personal. It is the most personal, isn't it? If that's the most alive.
Well, maybe it's what the future can be or what the present is. It's not about the past. It's not about my past live experiences, what happened. It's just what's emerging now. And it feels from what you've said, Marvin, that isn't personal enough for you.
Well, I like ideas. I like a good um, conversation about ideas. But uh, for me, the good starting point is more personal. That is what I'm feeling in the moment and what is on my mind.
Could one be passionate, be feeling ideas?
Uh,
Feeling, I mean, have a feeling. So it's like, I think Lynn is that way as a person, and I think Annette maybe also.
I like the notion of that by being present with one another in this sort of very attuned way, this sort of felt sensing and caring, deep listening. It feels like it's so intimate. And as opposed to, I feel like, or I believe sort of the old style, the old kind of therapeutic style that I was kind of schooled in or grew up in was you have to have a narrative. and try to like figure out what happened because of, or why you're this way because of this, and all of that. And so, and like, who are you? What do you do? What are your stats? That kind of stuff. And there's something that feels much more, I guess, like Rilke, am I saying him right? Like that I'll meet you out beyond all of that, in the field beyond wrongdoing, right doing, I'll meet you there. There's something that feels sort of like the essence of intimacy. And it doesn't matter if somebody does this for a living or somebody does that, or somebody just had a bad day or a good day, but there's some kind of way of like the availability and this choice to like hang out together in this way that feels so personal and so intimate, and in a way unrelated to where you're located, or and I like that option. It feels like it can be very freeing from, well, I have to be this or that role, or I'm this way because of that, and of course I'm upset because the sanitation department closed down or whatnot. So I don't know if that makes any sense, but I like the opportunity of this other way of being close and being together. It feels very needed. I feel very hungry for that, I think, more than to know a big story that goes with anyone. And I want to know if that's of importance to you. Then I want to know it. But if it's just you're telling me this for whatever reason, I don't need to know.
I agree with you. I was thinking as you were talking, that sometimes when I drink, I mean, it's been like this my whole life. I barely drink now, but when I would a little bit, because I didn't drink much, I would feel there's much more of me here now. You know, just more, not so looking at myself or scrutinizing myself, but I'm available. And that felt great. I think maybe that's why some people drink. Really, I think that's why my son started drinking. He was a shy, uptight kid, like his mother.
So that enabled you to just be yourself.
Well, to drop it felt like that. Be more spontaneous.
Okay. And
Didn't
Rachel,
have that critic.
and Rachel, are you sort of saying that we'll meet in the field and just not be in any particular role, but just be ourselves in that moment without having to be in a exact role? Or
Yeah, and I didn't mean to say like, oh, let's have no form or no structure, but more that there was, I think, an interaction last force meeting where Isabel had sort of shared something that I felt was very personal about how she was sort of impacted by listening to everyone else. We're just each doing sort of Marvin's recommended or structure of, we were each sharing. And Isabel, like, I felt like it was very personal. It was her response and how it was touching her. And I think Marvin was like, well, Isabel, I want to know how you are. Like, what else? Like, there was something deeper. And in a way, I felt like I wasn't maybe entirely sure what would have felt more satisfying for Marvin, because for me, I felt like Isabel was like kind of giving us this hug or something and saying like, I'm liking what I'm hearing, or I'm enjoying, like a picnic. a picnic without sandwiches, a good food picnic. It was just felt like yummy. And I was like, here we are with Isabella enjoying and being enjoyed. And like that you can have that experience without it's like you don't have to account for yourself or something. Or I don't know, there's something you don't have to qualify in a particular way.
Mm,
Or defend against like what I'm going to say isn't worth anything unless I tell you I'm this, or I have this training, or I went to this school, or I'm this tall, or this age, or it just feels like I don't care in this setting about any of that. I care about like what's happening for Nancy, what's happening for Marvin.
I just want to clarify
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Rachel. Clarify a couple of points. When I speak about specifics, I'm not talking about anybody's credentials, anybody's qualifications, anybody's history, anybody's personal life. I'm talking about sharing what's on their mind and what's in their heart. And what are they bringing to the meeting together? And I think for me, some of you are expert certified focusers with long histories of reflecting one another. And I'm not. And that experience of reflecting one another, for some, takes over in my observation, so that I don't get to know what's going on for that person, because they're so good at reflecting what other people have to say.
Mhm. So you sort of want to know, but maybe the reflection is fine, but then you also want to know how that lives in them, maybe,
Yes.
and also
Yeah.
what they're bringing before they even get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how what's on our minds, in our hearts, in our feelings now, or how much ourselves we feel in this moment. And I don't know, like, can we take a step in that direction to be more ourselves, to be more spontaneous, to bring more of what is important to us right now?
I'd like to just offer a kind of a example.
Sure.
I think if I had been there last time and just watching you all, it had been a while since we saw each other.
Yeah.
And so what was alive for some of us would have been what we've been doing. And it might feel like a story, but that might have been what was really alive, because we just wanted to share what was happening with us, our larger environment. But that's not the example. The example is at that very moment when you asked the question, Lynn, I was just so lost in curiosity about this question of check-ins and ways to be invitational, and how to not require people to talk who don't want to talk, and all the things you guys have been saying. And my mind was very, very active. To Annette's point, that was really, I mean, I was excited about that. And I wasn't having any other part of me that was heavy or celebrating something that's genuinely me that maybe you guys don't know. And so it's just an observation that it's like we're talking about several dualities in a way, from intimate to impersonal, and from you know, individual propensities toward habits of being, habits of mind. So that's all.
So you felt very alive and present in thinking about all these questions.
Yeah, the part of me that so yearns for us to have that thing that I've heard every single person. I mean, I heard Annette say it and Marg say it, and the rest of you too, in different ways, that to just have a way to be with each other. We want that. And I really appreciate, as you all know, I appreciate guidelines and I appreciate behavioral guidelines. I appreciate those things, and I'm prepared to have none of them. At the same time, that I was excited, thinking, yeah, okay, so we had a check-in. What else might we do that would get us to the juice of what Isabel was saying? It doesn't take so long.
So we had the juice last time. I thought.
May I say something that's coming up in my mind?
Please.
I truly, really appreciated knowing each person so much better last time by hearing each of you say what's alive at the moment. Only what came to me was everybody talks about different things. So it was for me, maybe because language difficulty, to follow everything and go into that world and then go into the other person's world. So what sometimes I do in my workshop is to have a subject. Like if in this time of the year, I would say, let's talk about New Year resolution. And that's the topic. And if each person talks related to that, for me, it would be much easier to follow. Because that's something that came to me now. It doesn't have to be, if it doesn't fit that person to talk about New Year's resolution, of course, maybe that person can to go away and then say what's alive too. It's not an obligation, but it's one idea to have one topic or maybe two or to talk about. It helps my concentration.
Sumi, I would love to hear what your New Year's resolution was. Asking that, I'm aware that that I really want to know Masumi's resolutions, and my asking that can be a little bit manipulative, so I have to watch out because there's a part of me that feels like I don't want to go back to the conversation of what structure should we use, what format should we use. I want to go forward to what will come next for us. So if I ask Masumi, what is your New Year's resolutions? Am I steering the group in more the direction that I want to go, or am I being myself? You know, well, maybe myself is manipulative right now. And the way to not be manipulative is to tell you that, of course, to tell you that to beware of me, because I'll try to steer the group away from trying to decide which structure we're going to use. And that may be just where we need to be right now. So I'm
Can I?
curious
Yeah.
about, how do you feel about what I just said? Yes.
Well, I feel like you're asking now Masumi for her New Year's resolution is exactly for me brings like what I think Masumi was talking about, like getting like, huh? Now we're changing subjects and now we're in a totally different subject and now we are going to hear about Masumi's New Year's resolution. I'm like, what? You know, although part of me wants to hear, part of me also, I was just listening to Masumi saying, like, I could, yeah, I can imagine what you said, like, so many different subjects, and I was actually processing that a bit and thinking about it, and what came for me was that I was like, yeah, I feel that, and at the same time, to me, even if people coming up with different subjects for each of them, I felt that there was some kind of a common thread somehow. And I and also the whole sense of the whole evening, I felt there was a kind of a common feeling around it, and I think you know, the things people said and the way they said it was very much formed and evolved by the whole mood of the group or the what was going on in the group. So that way I'm not so bothered by that it were all different subjects. For me, is that way it's not, that wasn't the most important thing what the subjects were.
Mm.
Yeah.
That there was a kind of web of connectedness,
Mm.
not the way that like a piece of music where, you know, one theme comes in and then another theme and then
Yeah.
the theme, but there's a feeling that the whole music makes. And
Yeah. And it all somehow goes together, even if all the tones and instruments are different. Yeah. I really felt that about last meeting.
And if we're focusing on what makes you feel alive, that might in one person's reality be what their New Year's resolution is. And for someone else, what makes them feel alive could be very different. So I mean, that's a more kind of a general theme that could be open to so many different life-giving senses and feelings and moments in our lives.
absolutely, yeah.
Well, hearing others comment on my speech, I take back having a structure of having a theme. It would be nice, instead of just one person beginning one day, maybe 2-3 people beginning have time to share, instead of everybody saying, I like the idea of the check-in that everyone said something, but it could be much shorter. And then have one person or several, 2-3 person has a long time to talk about. Then that may be for me easier to follow. I just felt sort of scattered mind, trying to sense one person's inside, and then after 3 minutes, the other person's, and my body was mixed with so many ingredients. It was rich, and it was very interesting, and I appreciated that chance, and also the feeling of belonging. Everybody can belong, can be established by that way. I'm not sure what I want to say, but I just wanted to take back the structure of having a topic.
Mhm.
I just, Masumi, if I can just also say, I really thank you for sharing that the wanting to have a subject or a through line. I can really appreciate that, especially if I were doing this in another language, not in my native tongue. How difficult. I don't have anywhere close to the language skills that you have, in French or Italian, but how it would be almost impossible for me to not know what we were talking about, and that it was going to sort of stay generally about New Year's resolutions or what's alive in us. I would find it would be just so difficult. And maybe, so I just want to appreciate that just linguistically, and doing this kind of group in your non-native, not your first language. I'm feeling that differently. I try to speak more slowly because you have said, I can't follow, speak slower. And just appreciating that other layer for you and for other people who are doing all of this in a second or third language. So I want to also appeal to how can we make it digestible and available? How can we meet you there? Is it Rilke or Rumi who I'm talking about? It's Rumi who
Rumi.
says, I'll meet you there. Yes, Masumi, I will meet you there.
I wonder if we might go back to what's our heart's desire when we talk about having a check-in. What is our heart's desire? And a few of you guys have said that in one way or another.
I can sort of say mine, I think, because, what I appreciate, what I loved last time was that I didn't feel the way I usually feel separate. And I feel separate now. I feel irritated and separate. And I didn't last time, which I felt a part of and eager to know more about each person. That maybe that was the feeling of belonging. It's connectedness, I think. And yeah, and there's some things irritating me about our conversation. Is like we're talking about. For me, that's too much. I don't know what we could do. I almost would like to do something really simple.
You would like to do something really simple.
Yeah, I was
right
thinking,
now.
yeah,
In general,
yes.
at the
When I'm with my little granddaughters, I mean, we do something stupid, jump on the bed and try to at each other's feet or something and laugh. And there's something's too studied for me right now. About when I think of last time and just the goodwill that came, and it just sort of evolved. And Masumi, I thought that last time you, unless I'm remembering wrong, felt quite at home with the different experiences, because I remember, unless I'm making it up, you saying people spoke more slowly, kind of naturally, because spoke from themselves. Is that right? Do I remember right, Masumi?
Sorry, I don't remember specifically what I said, but come to think of it, talking what's present in 3 minutes probably will make you go slowly than just talking about the subject. I mean, concrete opinion or something like that. So I like the way you spoke slowly. Everyone spoke slowly. You know, like a focusing way, just as Jindlin and Rogers found. People who just go inside and then talk and then take pauses would be more successful in counseling. So it was a nice way to hear you all that way. So I'm really tempted to say, let's begin checking in.
And I'm really
And
tempted to say, I want to hear from Isabel in the subject that got bookmarked and want to come back to that.
I'm trying to unmute myself. There's a couple of things that came up for me as Susan spoke about that sense of belonging and interconnectedness and togetherness that it doesn't seem to be present today. And that desire to sort of like be at play, like a child, enjoy in playfulness. I was thinking about that, and there was something really that touched me around that kind of like that desire that I want to feel connected. And yeah, for me, it felt like last week we were really connected, but I don't feel like today we're less connected. But I do feel like today I am a little bit more sort of like, I don't know if the word is measuring what I'm saying, you know, kind of like really checking in. And so I'm noticing that about myself, and I don't know why that's happening today. I'm also noticing that there's less of Jim here today. And to your point, Annette, of the conversation about the revolutionary listening, I think that maybe we're already doing that today, you know, in some way or another. And that's what I'm saying that I would like more of, kind of like those flagging of when we're doing something. And I think that that's really, I think BJ, you say, what is your heart desire? That's kind of like what I am wanting more of. And I also want to say, Susan, I definitely, I thought Masumi, and I might be very, very wrong about this, but I thought that last week, I experienced you as being more in it. And I don't mean like you're not in it, but I mean like, even though we were talking about different subjects, I really felt like you were connecting. So I'm happy to hear that that wasn't so. And I want to notice that when that's not happening. And if it's okay, I would like for you to tell me when that's not happening for you, because that was my assumption and it was clearly wrong.
Well, I'm a little confused, and I'm wondering, hasn't been said, whether it's too frightening for the group to allow itself the pleasure of being as connected as we were last week. That is, we are in a cerebral mode now today. It's almost like we're back to last year. And I'm just wondering about that. It was too good last time, huh? You can't stand it.
So here's what I'm gonna say as a therapist. As a therapist, this is what I would be saying if the group was my client. I think that last week we exposed too much of ourselves. And this week we're sort of like checking out the scene to see how that was received. And I would invite, if I was working with someone, I would invite my person and myself to check in. What about last week? Did it feel like it was too much? Right? Like for me, I'm still sitting with last week. I'm really upset with myself that I didn't acknowledge that BJ was not here. I can kick myself in my ass for that because I resent myself for not acknowledging that. Because BJ is such a vocal member of this group. And that silence was there, and I didn't even acknowledge it. And so I'm still kind of like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? So that's me. You guys know I'm passionate about what I say, so just take it like that. You know that's how I get.
I'd kind of like to hear from everybody, even if it was just for 2 minutes, as to what's on your mind, what's alive in you. I like that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Anybody against that?
What's alive in me is this the question that we're sort of trying to circle around and come into, and you know, that we said, you know, that the check-in was so good. It gave us this togetherness, and what structure could we use to have that again? How can we keep it? Right?
Keep,
Trying to keep the happiness as
oh,
right, trying to preserve it in a jar, picking the blueberries. Brother David talks about how it's not about picking the blueberries and preserving them in the jar, but the shaft of light, you know, that shines on the blueberry bush, and that's what we're really looking for. But I love Marvin's question, were we too close last time? And Isabel, I love having the group as your client. I feel very safe with Isabel as the therapist of the group, you know, as the group of the whole. I think what's alive for me is not preserving what we had last time, but marking, flagging, processing, digesting what it was. And there was a kind of feeling of enjoying each other. And one of my favorite parts was Kate talking about, I'm pointing to Kate, although it's only her name. Kate, I would love you to be here if you could be. But Kate talking about belonging, and my remembering how, Kate, you didn't feel you belonged, and you didn't know what it even felt like to belong at the beginning. And that it was so beautiful when you said, well, that you, no matter what's happening, you feel that belonging is something you can claim. And there was something there where we had come to something, it felt like. Not that maybe the structure would preserve it, but the felt sense of it, what impacted us.
It felt very safe to me last time. It felt like there was, I'm sorry, Mary, were you about to say something? Okay. Just that it felt safe. It felt like that we were sort of harmonizing or something, that we were all, yeah, like we're part of an orchestra or something, and we didn't need to be, I won't go forward with that analogy because I knew too little about music. My inner Liz, Jim's wife, is here, and I'm not going to talk about music. Something, there was something measured, like we were all in this at the same temperature or something. So it didn't feel like somebody was in the Atlantic Ocean in winter and somebody was in a Caribbean sea. It just sort of felt like tempered, and that there was a gentleness with one another. I felt like it had a lot to do with the reflecting, that we were all taking turns reflecting, and there was an expectation that if someone was speaking, they were speaking in a way knowing that they were being listened to, and that someone was going to be tasked with reflecting, and we were listening to one another, knowing that we were all together. Someone was going to need to reflect back. So the intention was very, yeah, that goodwill and kind and like tuned in, that focusing way of being present for one another.
Rachel, I think you hit something really on the head. Hit the nail on the head. Masumi, that's what do we call that?
An idiom or something?
Idiom.
You
Boom.
know that, Miss Sumi, hit the nail on the head.
You said it just right.
You've got it in
Found-
there.
Found it.
When you're hammering and you hit it on the side, and when you hit it right on the head, you get it right in there.
What Rachel said about knowing we would be reflected, and I remember now how I felt when I was reflected, and how can I say, it was like I expanded, I relaxed in here, in my chest, and I knew everybody kind of was with me. That's how I felt. And boy, that's quite a feeling. So maybe everybody's with me tonight, but it's much harder to feel that.
Oh,
But-
can I reflect you, Susan?
Oh, yes, you can, Yoga.
So, yeah, so you really felt like you knew somebody or even some bodies would reflect you, and it really felt good, and felt kind of connected to the group, and you felt listened to, and you wouldn't have to think about it or worry about it, so you knew it was going to happen. And Yeah. Is that about what you
Part
want to
of
say?
that was there though. Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I think there was a pleasure in talking, or an ease in talking, that I knew people were listening, and and then being reflected back, the feeling of, somebody gets it. Somebody is trying to get it. And that's so heartwarming.
Susan, I think you're talking about, and you're a specialist in this, about relating. That is, to get to the point where you're relating and you can feel that you're relating to one another is really nirvana. And for us in this group, my experience has been that it's something is always, we're always reaching a little bit, as if we're not quite there. We're looking to the edge, but for us to be able to say, hey, this is good enough. That was good. Let's enjoy it. Let's do it again. That as compared to, we got to go further. We want more. We're always wanting more. We're greedy. So we're reaching, we're supposed to reach in this. It's an idea group. And we're always supposed to be reaching for something that is a little bit beyond us. But if we arrive, can't we just say we like it? Can't we just enjoy it?
So to reflect what you're saying, what I hear you saying is that we had such a good time last week. It worked so well. Why can't we just continue with that instead of trying to improve it? And on that note, I've just got this need to say something about what's alive in me. And what's alive in me is to be alive and to make the most of the aliveness that I have right now. So this moment I'm alive. What can I do? I want to live my life as fully as possible. So that's what's alive in me right now. I am alive and I want to live it fully.
Can I just say, Nancy, as you spoke that, and Marvin and Susan, what came for me, a lot of you know that one of my other practices, it's mindfulness and specifically Vipassana. And what came for me is the notion of grasping, always going for that something, and the notion of impermanence, that nothing lasts forever. And that as a human being, I spend a lot of time in those two places, in the wanting to hold on to that brings me joy, and to also to want to turn away from that which is suffering. And that notion of everything is impermanent. And so I was sitting with that, and to your point of what's alive for me in this moment. And so here's a bit of disclosure. And you have heard me say this time and time again. When I am here, I am often in the struggle of, should I stay or should I go? It's like a song.
It
And
is a
yet,
song.
I know it's a song.
Should I say it?
And then the next day, it's almost like a seed has been planted. And it's not until I have gotten some distance from this moment that it begins to germinate. And then I can take that and transfer it to other aspects of my life. And so in this moment, I may not be able to see or savor those pieces of aliveness, but it doesn't mean that they're dead. It just means that I don't have any awareness of it in this moment. And
Mm.
And the last thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to just sit back and enjoy this ride. I really, really would love to hear from Jim and from Mary and Kate, if they're willing.
I'd like to reflect what Nancy said and what you said, Isabel. What you said, Nancy, just impacted me so deeply that you're alive.
Mhm.
That's what's alive in you. You want to be alive and to really live that aliveness. And
Yeah.
it reminded me of a meditation that I listen to every morning of Brother David Stendhal Rast, who says, live this day as if it were the very first day of your life or the very last day. And then you'll have used this day very well. And there was something in what you said about use this moment of aliveness. And then, Isabel, you're saying that even when you aren't, the song is too loud about should you stay or should you go, to hear it, but there is an aliveness in what's happening here, and you're aware of it afterwards and applying it.
I'd love to hear from Jim and Mary and Kate as well.
I could tell you my New Year's resolution, only I don't have one.
Can you say more?
What's more than not having one?
Mm.
Didn't you write a song or a poem about that?
Did you?
Not that I remember.
Maybe the one about the present for your inner critic.
Oh, yes, that's what
Is
I'm,
that what you're thinking of, Lynn?
yeah.
Normally, when people check in, I always hate it for two reasons. One, because I don't want to check in. I don't know how to check in. When I took the class in checking in, I failed. So, and I still need to take it over again. So I don't know how to check in. And the second thing is people say these things and then I don't remember them. And then I feel like, oh, I wish I had remembered that.
You mean when they check reflect? You?
Well,
Is
all
that
sorts of things,
Okay.
like I remember now Nancy talking about her family, but I don't remember much more than that. And it's like there was a lot of detail, but I've lost that detail.
Maybe it's not
Like-
important to you.
It's not a
Sorry.
matter of importance or
Sorry.
unimportance. It's a matter of memory.
Mm.
That when you're young, you think
I'm sorry,
what you
Jim,
remember
Jim,
is yes.
Jim, can you say what you just say? It's not important. It's a matter of what?
No, when you're young, when you don't remember something, it's either because you weren't paying attention or because it was not important. But I'm at a particular stage in my life where something can be very important, and yet I don't remember it. I still don't remember it because my memory is just failing a lot more often. And I suppose, like, if you have a language you grew up speaking, and then you went to another country, and then you learned a new language, you may forget that other language or lose fluency in it. I feel like I'm losing fluency all the time. Like I showed up today, like I was thinking that last time it was like a first date, and we said, yeah, I'm looking forward to going on my second date. And this was the second date, and we're trying to figure out, well, what was it we were looking forward to? Because it wasn't here.
So you're saying, Jim, like this feels like the second date. Yeah, it feels like I noticed you saying like it feels like it was the second date, but it still is. Still is.
It still is the second date.
Second date.
So maybe we should order more drinks.
But do you remember the feelings of any of it? The emotions of it? I might not remember the details, but I do remember the emotions and the feelings that were a major part of it.
Well, I remember I felt excited last time, and I felt like I belonged last time. And this time, I kind of feel like, where am I again? Why did I decide to come here? Should I stay or
here
should
with
I
us.
go?
You're here with us.
I'd
I
like,
think we should play that song at the end today. Should I stay or should I go? Because I don't think I know it, but it's an idiom that is used a lot in the English language, but I don't think I actually heard the song ever.
It's by the
No.
Clash.
Really do I know who sings
The
it?
Clash, yes. I know I can sing it right now, but you don't want to hear me sing it.
I'd love
So
to
I'm
hear
not so
you sing.
good.
I'd love to
No.
hear you sing it.
No, I can sing. Maybe Jim is a better singer.
Maybe Jim
Jim?
could sing it too.
I don't remember the lyrics though.
Well, we could hum along, maybe.
It's just should I stay or should I go now? Should I stay or should I go now? But then the rest I don't remember. But it's
That's
very
the
interesting.
important part.
Yes.
That fits.
I want to reflect what Jim said about checking in being sort of anxiety provoking. And
Yes.
that worry about failing that has come, you know, for many of us at different times, but that plagues you like the, should I come and should I stay? Should I stay or should I go for Isabel? But I also wanted to pick up on your concern about your memory, because that's so hard. And I get that too. And many people over the age of whatever get that. And that was a personal sharing of the anxiety also. I want to say to you, Jim, you don't have to know how to check in order to belong. Anything you say is what we want to hear.
How about what I don't say? Is that what you don't want to not hear?
Wait a minute, I can't, what you don't say is not what.
Try and parse that.
Say that again.
Well, sometimes my most natural state is being quiet, and I have to goose myself to say something.
Jim, I want to say that back. Sometimes your most natural state is to be quiet. That said it. Jim, are you frozen?
No.
Oh. I was trying to reflect that first thing you said because it answers a question I was wondering. As a matter of fact, I thought about asking you and Mary and Kate, what's going on when you don't speak, even after 4 or 5 people have said they would really love to hear you speak? And yeah, that was what the question that was going on in my mind. And what I think I heard you say was a good answer to that question I had about you. And I thought I heard you say sometimes it's about just being quiet. But see, I've already forgotten. You were most comfortable just being quiet, or most natural? What seems most natural is just to be quiet.
There was another part there about it's natural to be quiet, but you're struggling with it because some part of you doesn't want to be quiet.
I actually focused with somebody once who was quiet the entire time. And as a good listener, I was quiet too.
So this remind me of Mother Teresa when she was, I heard, asked, when you talk to God, what do you do? And her response was, I just listen. And then the person say, and what does God say to you? And she say, he just listen. And I think that there's such a profound thing there in this just listening that brings me back to this revolutionary listening that we're not talking about.
But you're talking about it right now, right?
Is it, Isabel, is it revolutionary listening?
Well, I think maybe, Isabel, you mean something different by it than what I meant when I coined the phrase.
Well, we wouldn't know what you mean because you have not talked about it. So you have left us to make this up.
Well, maybe that's the creative part. But I'd love to hear what you think, how you define it. What it is to you might be more important than what it is for me. But I would love to say what it is for me. That would be very alive for me, to say what it means to me.
Great, do it.
Yes, please do.
Revolutionarily listening.
Revolutionary listening. Well, the revolutionary pause that Mary Hendricks talks about, and we've talked about. Hi, Kate. We've talked about it, pausing and how important it is. But I was thinking that I learned so much from this group, and I'm trying now to teach what I'm learning in the class that I'm doing on Thursday, and I'll be doing I want to be doing a presentation about it at a conference too. But I was thinking about the moments of breathlessness and like, oh my God. And that revolutionary listening is not going dead and not reacting, but jumping in and reflecting, listening to what is there. And everybody can't do that in the moment. I'm thinking, for example, and Yoka's making some clips for us of this. When Joe was talking about how he had voted for Trump not because he liked him, but he was the lesser of two evils. And Shaka Fei in that exchange said that this wasn't academic for her, that her husband had been deported, and she was very passionate about that. And we had, as a group, had an experience where that kind of political charge went awry, and we had learned that we have to reflect. And so we had everybody reflect. And then Joe said, I'm so sorry that something like this, I'm so sorry that happened to you, that your husband was deported. And we have to make sure that nothing like that happens again. And that was a way that the group was able to hold that situation. But the time before, we weren't able to, and I don't remember exactly the details now. But there were many moments like that where we dropped the ball, where we were reacting or freezing or shutting down. And there have been some moments where people have jumped in to hold the situation by reflecting the deeper point. So what I mean by revolutionary listening is that the whole group takes leadership in catching something, not letting it just fall to the ground and dissolve and then come up in a conflict in another way or deaden the group, but that it's caught, that we're catching the balls. Is that what you meant by it, Isabel? Is that your understanding of it?
So here's my revolution right now.
Yeah.
I like to take a pause here and have that land a bit before we get into the what was it for me.
Let it land what it means to me. And I'll say another word, that it's revolutionary because this doesn't happen in the world.
Mm.
And for us to be able to do it can start a revolution, or is a revolution. Not that nobody does it, but it's not the way usually.
Can we catch the ball, Jim?
Which ball?
Mhm.
The ball about feeling it's okay to express yourself, say how you feel or what you need.
I don't think that's the ball. I
What
feel
is,
like the ball is that it's okay if people don't want to share. And why do we all have so many needs for others to be certain ways?
I'm not sure if that's Jim's ball. I'm really not sure. So is it, Jim?
I'm not sure either.
We're
I think I have a higher level of anxiety today, which makes me A, remember less, and B, not remember the alphabet, but at least I got 2 letters in.
The experience today, for me, is so different than last week. It's, I feel like I'm struggling to figure out, and I can't quite catch the ball. that I feel inadequate, and it's anxiety producing. I have to say something super smart, or I'm a dummy. I'm stupid. We're all talking now from the third person rather than just being in the I position more naturally like last week. It's really so cerebral.
I think sometimes, Marvin, you feel like when I speak about what's alive for me, that it comes out in this cerebral way, and you feel like you have to be smart or something to
Yeah.
catch it. Let me
I mean,
say,
there's a lot of smart people in this room. It's not just you.
yeah, but I think that smartness is irrelevant in a way. But to me, it's not about smartness, it's about what language we use or something. But I want you to get me in it. And I'm going to say it to you, Marvin, that what's exciting to me is that when there are these charged moments, we learn how to not ignore them. It's really the same point that you've made, but I've learned a lot from you, tremendous amount from you. It's about not turning away from the conflict, but also not reacting to it, but holding the ball and seeing what it means to the person. So I want you to know what it means to me. I think there were so many moments in my family where there were charged moments that just got screamed and yelled and changed the subject, and the meeting that we had last week would never happen in my family. And it feels very personal to me. Can we do this thing of really hearing each other? And what is it made of, that thing? The reflecting that isn't just we learned it from Jenlyn, but we're trying to understand people. Do you feel me now?
I do feel you, and I've learned an awful lot from you, and that's why the question is, should I stay or should I go? It's not that isn't there for me, because I learned a lot from you and from everybody else here, and that happens every week. The in a sense, feel a little bit like Jim though today, in that I can't quite catch that ball. The ball it's like playing basketball, and I can't quite get it.
Did you get it? Did you catch it? Did you catch my ball just
Yes, I
now?
did. I caught your ball, and I'm very appreciative you threw it to me, and you threw it really to me,
Yes,
and I got it. Thank you.
Wow. But that was the smartest thing. That was the smartest thing, that you can catch it if the person throws it to you. If it feels like abstract, then it's like, where is the ball? Which is the ball?
Lynn, I know when we were in person, we were actually using a ball to throw. Remember that?
Oh, yes, I do remember that.
And to actually throw to people. But I just want to come back to this place, and
Could
you
you?
know, I
What?
asked for so two things, Lynn. When the revolutionary listening came in, I noticed that Kay came on screen. And I asked for a pause, and we went right over the pause and kept talking. And so the revolutionary listening to me, which was the question that you asked me, what it meant to me. it's what you and I and Susan and Yoka have engaged in conversation about. That is the sort of like the place where you actually go beyond the listening to the person and are able to not just reflect back, but to really let them know, I heard what you were saying, and this is what it was. And what it brought for me was two things right now. One is one of the people who I have learned from say about people of color. So this is about people of color. What we really want sometimes is for someone to just listen to what we have to say uninterrupted. That's it. We don't want anybody to fix anything, but just to listen without interrupting. And I am saying that because there are many times here in this group where I feel like I say something and then we just run with the ball towards the opposite end of the field. This was football, basketball. And I don't know why that happens. If we're going to continue to use the analogy of the ball, I don't know why that happened. If that's a level of discomfort, or if it's just like, you know, here's Isabel again. I don't know what it is. And to be honest with you, I don't care. I'm going to be in this group just how I am. And I'm going to bring forward what is alive for me. Because that's why I come every week. And, you know, I just want to say I really, really want to get back to what Jim was saying. That today he's feeling like a little, my wife likes to say, discoagulated. That's what she likes to say. You know, that he's feeling like he's not connected. And I want to know, what can we do, or what can I do to create a sense of belonging for you, Jim?
Isabel, I can't pay attention to that yet because I need to know how that interchange with Marvin impacted on you and on the group. And I need that reflected. And I felt like in a certain way, what you were saying was happening just then, you know, that you went on to the next subject without saying what, without reflecting anything about what impact did it have for Marvin and I to have that exchange. How does it feel for me to say that to you, Isabel?
So here's how it impacted me. I'll tell you that you specifically address Marvin, and you say, Marvin, here's the ball for you. And what is that for you, Marvin? And Marvin then felt, oh my God, Lynn, I'm so happy you recognize me. I'm so excited that I am being acknowledged by you. And in the meantime, the rest of us, I don't know about them, but I'm here salivating. When is my turn, Lynn, to be acknowledged? Does that do it for you, Lynn? But does it catch it for you? That's how I felt. Like, when is it gonna be my turn? So yeah.
To you, Isabel.
But you know, and then you know, this is what I'm saying. I learn from every moment here. Like this moment, you want to hear how it impacted me? It impacted me in where in my life am I waiting for someone to pass the ball to me. That's how it impacted me in this moment.
But then you threw the ball to to Jim and be right. You didn't say, Lynn, you're throwing the ball to Marvin and you're not throwing the ball to me. That was so wonderful, Isabel.
Maybe because it was safer to say, "Hey, Jim, how are you here?" You know, we're driving
Right.
up 2 minutes
What
ago.
about you, Isabel? You were passing the ball rather than catching it. And I want to say, Isabel, this is the ball for you. I love that about you, that you can find inside just what the feeling is, of why you wanted to go back to Jim, and that feeling that you weren't being thrown the ball. It's such a powerful feeling, and so important.
So,
To
so
say.
should we, so should we go to Jim now? Because the ball has been thrown to Jim.
Well, maybe you need to reflect what Isabel and I said very quickly and then go to Jim.
Oh, I'm not sure. I knew that there was a lot of throwing around of the ball, and I was kind of preoccupied with
I'll
Jim.
reflect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Isabel was saying, in response to Lynn's question, she immediately identified what her feeling was about the ball being thrown to Marvin. And Lynn responded at how good Isabel is at doing that.
And there was another part about Isabel wanting the ball to have been thrown to her, but first she tried to throw it to you. It's like giving to you what she wanted. I was thinking how hard to say what you want for us to claim it.
Well, I was so glad when the ball was thrown to Marvin, because Marvin is always saying how it's never thrown to him.
Well, I often grab the ball. It's not thrown to me. And I just take it. But it's delightful to receive the ball from another person. It's a gift. And I'm very appreciative. It's like feeling taken care of, and it's special.
Sorry, can I ask, because I felt like, Lynn, what you were saying also was informative and important, and I wanted to make sure that I got it substantively. In terms of what we're doing here, we often come back to what are we doing here? And we're not hanging out, we're not working on a clear project, we're not trying to raise money for some organization. And I think you said it, and I don't quite have the nail on the head with it. So I want to see if I get it or what I got. That is revolutionary. We're trying to do something where we're in relation with one another. I'm just taking a stab at it. I'm trying. We're in relation, and when something happens that's charged, when something kind of lights up on the screen, we don't just say, oh, let's end early today, or that's enough. How about them Mets? We try to stay with it and kind of lean into it, or somebody, and we're all responsible to say, wait a second, something happened just there. Can we come back to it? Or can we stop? Or I don't want to go on until we go back to, or what is that about? What is that for Isabel, for Marvin, for Lynn, for but could you try to say, or can somebody try to say the part that I'm I'm missing or don't know. I'm not sure if I will catch it, or if I can say what stood out for me in the meeting and what I wanted to sort of track. Like when Nancy said, can we talk about what makes us feel alive? I'd love to follow that. I want to know what makes all of us alive. I love that Susan's jumping on the bed with her granddaughter. Like, how do we do that together? I love a bouncy house. And like, how do we have that? But those so those were things for me, but I don't think that's quite what we're talking about. Those weren't necessarily the interactive. So
Yeah, well, I meant it very particularly in that moment, that when there's something charged and someone is, or several people are in conflict or dysregulated, or that somebody, that somebody needs to be able to jump in and reflect the person that is having a lot of feelings. And then other people can do that. And that, and that's very, very hard to do. And that doesn't happen in the world very much. And I'd like us to know when we're doing it and when we're not doing it. Often we don't do it. We lose the moment.
I'm not sure if I'm passing on a ball here from about 10 steps back. But at one point, Lynn, you had asked Isabel what her idea was of this new word, the listening. And Isabel, you didn't have a response. And it was, and I think that she had thrown you the ball. But when you didn't respond after a while, Lynn came back and told us what her idea was of the revolutionary listening. But I don't think we heard what your idea of the revolutionary listening was at that point. So I wonder if the ball was thrown to you. I guess the point is, I think the ball might have been thrown to you and you didn't catch it, when I don't understand, and I don't know what that was about.
I thought that when Isabel wanted to give the ball to Jim, then I said, no, I need it caught. And then Isabel said, I thought Isabel did say her idea of revolutionary listening too.
It was before that.
It was about 5 steps before. But I thought that you had thrown the ball to Isabel, and I just wanted her to recognize that the ball had been thrown.
Oh, you wanted Isabel to recognize that I threw the ball to her.
I think so.
That was my impression too.
I'm wondering how painful it would be to listen to this video between now and the next time we meet. Yeah, I'm just curious. I'm just curious. Are some of you thinking, I need to listen to that again because of blah, blah. Or some of you thinking, oh, Jesus, please, I'm never going to listen to this again. I'm just curious. Would anybody say that to me? Kate, what would you? Oh, I know, Kate, you don't listen to them. Is that right? Okay, then. Okay, well, okay.
So often in life, we misunderstand something, or we miss something that was said, and we feel hurt. So I guess I was just trying to eliminate any hurt.
Yeah.
So can I just say, Nancy, I was not hurt. I feel very comfortable in my relationship with Lynn.
That I know
that that's nothing that Lynn can do or say to me personally that is harmful. I know that all that can come between Lynn and I, it's love. And that I also know that I have had many disagreements with Lynn, and that we're able to sit and sift through them and find ourselves again. But I would say this because this what's right here, right now. So when Marvin say, Lynn threw the ball to me and I caught it. And I do that. That's what I do. I catch the ball. What came for me as a woman of color and as a gay woman, and Marvin, you say this one time in this group, there's a group of people here that are, I don't know what the word was, but it was, we are at the same level. I went to the same institute that Jim went. We are the same. And what came for me today was, wow, it must be great to live life in that way. To know that the ball is going to be thrown to you, and even if it's not thrown to you, you can fucking catch it and you can take it. That's not my experience. And I just want to say, when you say that, and I love you, man. I love you. I love who you are in here. But it really touched that in me. And it was like, oh, whoa, oh, wow. Just wanted to say that as a woman of color, as a lesbian, as a woman, that's not my experience. And so hence the, please throw the ball to me was present. And, just wanted to name that as something that came up. Both Kay and Masumi, I apologize. When I get excited, that's what happens with me. I can't slow down, but I am definitely aware that I say it a lot, and I hope you watch the video again and you can slow me down. I'm so sorry.
Isabel, you're such a special person. I feel you're always getting the ball. And and you get the ball because of who you are as that special person, very unique in the world. And you don't have to claim this institute or that certification or not. You just are yourself. It's very special to me today to feel from Lynn that she was taking care of me in a way, because I've made the comment many times that often I say something a little provocative and everybody freezes. There isn't any response or reflection. And I'm trying to be a little less provocative, but I think my reputation goes with me. Always good to hear from you.
Isabel, may I reflect you? So what I heard so movingly from you, and so like bare honesty, was that you really, that you see Marvin as able just to grab the ball wherever it is. And you have no experience like that. You feel you can't do that. You can't just grab the ball. And there was something very touching to me also about your telling us. And that is who you are. That is your experience, which you will not deny. And I really heard that. So I hope I got the essence of it.
Hearing the church bells, meaning it's 8 o'clock. And I'm just wondering if there are any last comments. And Kate, often you'll speak at the very end, so I'm hoping that you'll say something. No? I'm I'm throwing the ball to you. And Mary, I'm wondering if you have a last comment for us. I'm throwing the ball to you, but all of you can throw balls to anybody else. But we only have a minute or so.
Yeah, I think that my pace tonight it's a little different. You know, it feels a little different than other folks' pace. I was moving the last time the group met, and I thought that I simply was so discombobulated, Isabel. um, and I forgot, but then I looked, like Yoke was so super kind to send me the dates and how to get access, because I had moved my office and I just was truly discombobulated. So I kind of knew how it was before. So I've been sort of fascinated tonight that, you know, for many reasons I'll go into another time. I was just feeling a lot of loss, and I was sort of taking these mental snapshots of how great everybody looks tonight. And I felt a little coerced by Marvin to like turn this into kind of like a support group, and in my way of thinking, like we all have different ways of thinking. So that's just like a sample of a bit of what was happening for me. And I very much wanted to hear from Kate.
You.
Okay.
It
Let me
feels
hold your hand.
the discombobulation came alive when you spoke, Mary.
Yes.
Sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say?
I was just thanking Mary, but Kate, I would love to hear what you have to say if you're going to respond to Mary.
Okay, when you were talking about the throwing and catching the ball, I was wondering why is it so important to this? I mean, being thrown a ball or catching a ball.
That's a wonderful question for us to think about, you know, and come back to why is it so important to throw a ball or to catch a ball? You know, why is it so important that it's going to start a revolution and change the world if we catch a ball?
Inclusion and acceptance.
Inclusion and acceptance.
And repair work. It doesn't cause trauma. The trauma evaporates before it's formed, before it's set.
Right. And when you catch the ball, it doesn't sort of seep into the earth and then come up in all different ways, and you don't know what it is. You process, digest it.
Yes.
But I think I'm mixing my metaphors. It might be time to go.
Doesn't hit you in the head if you catch it.
Oh, that's good. It doesn't hit you or in the gut.
The
Any,
ball is just the ball, not a concussion.
Or a kick.
Can you play the song Yoga? I've never heard it.
Jim, help. Do you have it somewhere on your playlist, Jim?
What's the name of it again, Jim? The word?
I think it's can you stay and can I stay or should I go? Can I go? or
Should
I
I
stay?
stay? Should
Do
I
you
stay or
have
should
the
I go
link?
now?
It's on YouTube.
Yours.
It's on YouTube.
Can we play it now? Maybe?
Is that the name of the song?
Should I
think
stay
so.
should I go now? Yes. Right?
and those of you who have to leave, please feel free to, and those of you who
I
want
have
to
never heard it.
Well, I don't know if I should,
You
stay
have
or
it,
I
Jim?
should go.
Stay. Well, it's
I'm
up to
gonna make,
you.
I'm gonna,
I have the link.
I'm
Are
gonna
you
ma-
sharing it, DJ?
Oh,
I-
here. Here's a link from Annette.
Okay.
Who
So
posted it?
can we open the link somehow?
Somebody
I'm
has to.
gonna